Hey, what are you doing on March 6th and 7th? How about making your way to DX3 in Toronto for a 2-day deep dive into digital marketing, digital advertising, and digital retailing? Along with a free exhibit hall, there are going to be over 40 sessions, including speakers from Microsoft, Salesforce.com, Google, Well.ca, Facebook, Lowe's, and Mountain Equipment Co-op. Come see what one attendee called a rare thing in the digital world. Register at www.dx3canada.com today. See you there. Welcome to This Week in Location-Based Marketing, the most trusted podcast dedicated to the new business of location. Hello, everybody, and welcome to This Week in Location-Based Marketing. This is episode number 116, recorded on February 9th, 2013, late at night. Well, for me anyways. We're doing this across time zones, across dimensions. My name is Rob Woodbridge from Untether.tv, located right now, buried under a foot of snow in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. Asif, why don't you tell everybody, why don't you show everybody where you are? Man.
Where I am, Asif Khan, Location-Based Marketing Association in San Francisco. Came out here for speak at the Apps World Conference, and I'm still here because I can't get to the East Coast where I live because there's no flights. But this is what it looks like in San Francisco right now.
Oh, you're killing me.
We don't have any snow.
Killing me.
So it's all good.
I would show you what it looks like here, but my windows are covered in snow. Like they're just covered. So, yes, well, welcome. This is episode number 116. It's a jam-packed show. I can't believe it. We're going to be talking about a ton of things. We got a huge number of announcements to begin with, requests, some questions, some neat new features. We got our great guest, of course. We've also got Asif is going to give us a rundown of what it was like in San Francisco at Apps World this past week, which I heard great things from, like your impression of that as well. Also, I got the app that is fascinating me this week. It's an app called Timber. We'll go into a little bit of detail. That we got our 6 main stories of the week. We got our special guest is Dave Lieb, the co-founder of a company called Bump, small company, only the 7th most popular app of all time on the App Store on iOS. Talking about his new app called Flock, which is a photo app. And then, of course, we got this great resource of the week, which was done in partnership with the Location-Based Marketing Association. So this is all just jam, but I got to start just a few announcements. Is that okay, Asif? We got a few announcements. We'll just cruise through them?
Yeah, for sure.
One of them, if you happen to be in Toronto in this coming week, or not this coming week, the first week of March, why not hit up dx3canada.com and buy a ticket and go out to DX3 to take a look at what this is. This is a pretty amazing conference that's happening for 2 days in Toronto, March 6th and 7th at the Metro Toronto Convention Center. Huge, like this is 7,000 or 8,000 people in the mobile space and the digital space coming together. Guys like Doug Stevens, Retail Profit, Amber Mack, whole bunch of people going to be there. So please hit up dx3canada.com. We love these guys. We love sponsoring these and supporting these guys. And of course, Asif, you'll be there. I'll be there. It'll be a great, great event. 2 days in Toronto. Yeah,
it'll be good.
And
we'll actually be in the same place.
Yeah, I know.
Physically, same location. There you go. That
doesn't
happen too often.
Once or twice a year. So please do that. Another quick announcement. These are both kind of self-serving, aren't they? Because this is a book that is coming out March 18th. The date has been announced. It's called The Everything Guide to Mobile Apps, a practical guide to affordable mobile app development for your business. It is really done by Peggy Ann Saltz, but Asif and I contribute each a chapter to this book. It is available for pre-order on Amazon. We would really appreciate the support. We had a great time doing this. We want to support Peggy in this, and I think there are 18 other contributing writers to this. It's pretty incredible, including like Gary Schwartz and a bunch of other folks from Fixu and App Clover. So please, support this book, support this community. I think it's a great book, and it's all encompassing. Just do a search for The Everything Guide to Mobile Apps right there on Amazon and go and buy it. It's cheap. It's like $11. Yeah, we don't get rich off of these books. The last thing that I would love to ask you is to go onto iTunes. If you subscribe to us through iTunes, through any kind of podcast software, we would really appreciate a 4 or 5 or a 5-star review of this podcast. It helps us. It helps the folks that are involved in this. It also helps distribution and awareness making for this podcast. Don't keep this your little secret. We would really appreciate some build up and some good star ratings. So if you are within earshot of this and you have enjoyed at least one of these 116 episodes, can't guarantee this one, but the other 115, please reach out, give us a good review, give us a good rating. All it takes is a few seconds, and it's our form of payment for doing this. So please, do I sound desperate, Asif? Please.
No, we love the feedback. We love hearing from people. On email, on Twitter. I meet a lot of people at conferences, as I did this week at Apps World. Guy who watches the show, quick shout out to him, Bob Offenstein. He's building a cool little new company called GeoHelp, doing location-based customer service stuff. So, and is a regular follower of the show. So thanks to that. But yeah, I mean, get out there and give us that rating. We really appreciate it.
I mean, that's all. It's a small thing that we'd love if you could do. The last thing, hey, listen, if you've ever wanted to give us feedback, but don't know how to type, don't know how to send us a tweet, don't know how to send us an email, but listen, we want to get your voice on this show. So forget about this email. I don't want to read it. I want you to send it to me. So we got this great thing. We're doing a beta test with SpeakPipe, which is a service in beta test right now. It's at speakpipe.com. And if you go to untether.tv/talk, TALK, it'll forward you to our SpeakPipe page, where all you have to do is hit a button to start recording a message. You can send us a voicemail. Keep it to like 30 seconds or something like that. But if you've got a question, you got a comment, we will play it on air. You want to promote a company, we will play it on air. So go to untether.tv/talk and leave us a voicemail. And that's it. Those are our public service announcements. Please. The most important one there is that you actually click on 5 stars on iTunes. So, Asif, tell me what's going on in the world of the Location-Based Marketing Association in the coming week.
There's a lot going on. I mean, we obviously we've been out at Apps World here and involved in that. We had a phenomenal panel, which I talked about on the show last week, with AT&T and Urban Airship and M-Blocks and Saatchi Mobile, and just great discussions about push notifications and geo-targeting of those, and sort of the reemergence of SMS in North America as a geofencing platform. Obviously, big thing for AT&T. So lots going on around that. Good conference overall. Really quality speakers. I mean, we had guys from Pandora. All the TV networks were up here. Media companies, the Washington Post. Just a phenomenal group of speakers. I learned a lot of things and met a lot of cool people. So that's that. That's Apps World. Coming up for us, we have 2 events I'll quickly make mention of. Our Atlanta chapter, LBMA Atlanta, is hosting an event on February the 20th called The Implications of Mobile Tracking. And that details of that are on our website. And also March the 6th, so not too far after that, in Amsterdam, we are involved. It's not our event, but we're involved in the content of it and helping promote a thing called Solomo City Marketing. So it's an event for municipal city marketers on how to sort of use location-based techniques and tools help engage with citizens in a particular municipality. So that should be really interesting too. So that's what we got coming up, and there's plenty more. Just go to thelbma.com/events, and you will see it there.
We've also got this great survey that you're looking for more contributions for the CMO office, or the CMO organization.
Yeah, the CMO Council. Yeah. So there's a little survey there. We're trying to put together a new study on location and collect some data. It's a really short survey; it just takes a few minutes to fill out. So if you're a marketer, in particular, you're the guys we want for this. So we'll throw that up there, and please just take 5 minutes and fill it out. It's very helpful.
So go do that now. Just go to the lbma.com right after you give us a good 5-star rating on iTunes. So I just want
yeah, there's banners running on the site with the surveys. You can just click on a banner.
I do want to know a little bit more about if you don't mind talking about Apps World. I mean, what was your take on this? This is you've been to the other Apps World, right? So this is a yearly event. You were there last year. I mean, tell me.
This is the first time they're holding this event
in North America. Yeah.
So it's put on by 6 Degrees, which is based in the UK. So they've run this a couple times in the European market, and this is their first foray doing it here. Interesting event. They had a couple thousand people out. Really high quality speakers across the board. I mean, and a lot of different subjects. We were looking at television, we were looking at second screen, we were looking at location. Obviously, we were talking about gaming apps. Driving fan base and loyalty. A whole range of different things being discussed, and lots of great vendors in the exhibitor area as well. From Urban Airship to Fixmo to BlackBerry was here. PayPal, everybody was here. I mean, it basically, if you had a toolkit for developers or you were a developer, you were here.
That's pretty amazing, and it must have been, the belle of the ball was Urban Airship, obviously. We had Scott on last week, and what did they raise? Like 23, 24, $25 million last week?
$25 million, yeah.
And they announced that there. So worthwhile to get out to San Francisco for that event? Yeah.
For sure. I would, and I think they're going to do it again. So when it comes back around, highly recommend it.
Yeah, Apps World in San Francisco. All right, so jump very quickly into this. I'm absolutely fascinated by. We'll start. I mean, we got to start this at some point, but I'm absolutely fascinated by this app, and we've had some good feedback about discovery, the way that we're trying to help you discover some location-based apps, and I think that this is one of these things. I sat down with the founders of Timber this week. We're not going to put the interview on here, but if you check on Tether.tv in a little while, you'll be able to see it. But this is. This is an app that's fascinated me. It's called Timbre, Timbre, and you can go to timbreapp.com, or you can just download it on iOS. And what this is basically a live band discovery app, but it's a beautiful app when it comes to pretty much everything. But the interface is very cool. It's innovative interface, and it's they've just rolled out their latest version this week. And the latest version is worldwide. So before they were just localized to a number of markets in the United States, and now they're actually going worldwide. And it is an absolutely cool app. And I'm just going to kind of, for those of you who are watching, for you who are watching, you can see that the interface is beautiful. It scrolls. It's so elegant, and the dates are on the side as opposed to the way they've done the calendaring is amazing. What's really cool about this is that. So this Valentine's Day in Ottawa, Blue Rodeo is playing. It's a Canadian band. I'm just going to launch it. It pulls it up, a little bit of information. You'll hear the music. And then, if you actually, the interface is great because if I click on it, I can actually tweet about it. I can go buy tickets. I can do anything that I want with this. But really, the beauty of this is the fact that it's about discovery. Some of the bands that are playing here, Bon Jovi, can you believe it? Oh my God, I can't believe they let that guy in Ottawa. It's terrible. This is a pretty cool app. And when it comes to location, discovery for bands is crucial, and this allows you to get in there, be a part of this app, and it's called Timbre. Timbre app is my latest fascination. I've been playing with it for a couple of weeks now, and I'm so glad that they just released this. And what's really cool, I didn't show you this, is that they have the Grammys, a special section for Grammys, same way where they have like it broken down by category, so you can see like best album, album of the year, song of the year, all these kind of things, and it's so cool. And Springsteen, I'll let you know, is up for four Grammys. Just so you know, 4 Grammys. Just so you know. So go.
I've had a chance to play with it too. The aesthetic of it is just amazing. Like they've done a phenomenal job of kind of sort of capturing the essence of the music business in the design of this. I mean, it looks like it looks like a poster for a band or for a concert, right? I mean, it is what immediately comes to mind for me. So. That that fits very, very nicely with what they're doing about finding local acts and concerts and stuff happening around you. So functioning, I like it. It looks great. Check it out if you haven't yet. Timbre
app, awesome timbreapp.com. Go and check it out. Yeah, Boston company as well. So snowed in as well. It's just beautiful. So, fascination. If you've used this, if you want to give us some feedback, as I said, go down tether.tv/talk. Leave us your voicemail. Leave us your review of Timbre app. Let's jump into the news, though, please. I mean, people are dying here. We're already 15 minutes into the show. We haven't even started. All right, we're going to cruise through this. We got some big stories. We're going to dive deep into. We got some simple stories that we're just going to walk through. And I think that certainly there's a lot of momentum happening right now. Story number one, when it comes to the auto as the app store, right? And I think that Ford, obviously, with their Ford Sync product, in partnership with Microsoft, is leading the way. And now they've added some location-based services to their Sync platform, which is I think is a long time coming. Really, quite frankly. What do you think?
Yeah, I was actually surprised when I saw this story that they didn't already have more of this in the platform. So it's a very specific announcement in terms of what they're adding here. So this is for Ford vehicles, Ford electric vehicles in particular, the Ford Focus, the electric version of that. So what they're doing is they've layered location-based services into the My Ford mobile app. And they've teamed up with PlugShare, which is a aggregator of data around where charging stations are for electric vehicles, and so they're pushing you real time alerts as to where charging stations are as you're moving around. You can get info on battery status. You can get info on other things to do with hybrid vehicles. Based on your location. So obviously, the utility is great. The value makes sense for anybody who's got that kind of vehicle. It's U.S. and Canada that they're looking to do this in, and just great functionality. Nothing rocket science on it, but makes sense.
I love it. Kevin Toffel over at GigaOM has a hybrid car, and he has been. If you've ever wanted to find somebody who loves this technology, I mean, he's a geek. He loves this kind of stuff. But he's been posting his mileage. He went 38 days without filling his tank. Like, it's kind of crazy, like 1,200 kilometers or something like that, or even more. But so if you want some firsthand insight into owning this kind of car, a plug-in car, just follow Kevin C. Toffel on Twitter. But this last line that I read about at this story that I just pulled up there was like the app will also provide point of interest options for charging station info alert users of nearby pizza places and nearby pizza places and the like. So I think that they're eventually they're going to get into this space, and I always think that the perfect marriage here. Ford Sync or Ford is going to have to go out and buy something like Waze. I think that there's my big prediction based on this. I think that they should buy Waze.
Well, we'll see. The other way to do this is to use like somebody like Roximity that we talked about before on the show, where they're already working with the car manufacturers and focused on pushing the deal content piece into the nav system. So. I think there could be a relationship there too.
Roximity's already in there. Isn't Roximity already in with Ford Sync? They're already a service, aren't they? Yeah. So
So my guess is the deal piece will come from via that model.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Battleground right now is the car, the automobile. Inside the automobile is the new battleground, and I think it's very cool.
Yeah, and you're just joining us now. A few weeks ago, if you go to the LBMA, lbma.com/research. Just a couple documents into the list, you'll see an infographic that we shared a few weeks ago on telematics sector and the growth around that. So
that's our first story. Facebook or Ford. Ford is adding these location-based services to the Sync platform. I love it. If you need to charge your car, you need this app. You need to upgrade your app. Second story. This is, what? I love these rumors that start swirling around with Facebook. Is that Zuckerberg himself said last year, like 2012 was really about shoring up the infrastructure and getting things right for a mobile explosion in apps that is coming in 2013. And for the first time last quarter, they said that more than half, over 50% of people who interacted with Facebook did it from a mobile device. And that's a significant number. That's over 500 million people, almost 600 million people. Their primary contact with Facebook is through a mobile device. There's something like 280 million people. That's how they access Facebook. They don't go on the web. So it's pretty insane. And their revenues are annualized about $4.5 to $5 billion. And they have 1.1 billion people using using Facebook.com. That's not a great monetization streak. So mobile is so important to these guys. So these guys are now talking about launching this location-based friend finding app. And most people who have looked at this look at this as an ulterior motive in order to be able to push you customized ads. First, let's talk about the Facebook. Can they compete in the space? Like Apple's in there, Google's in there.
I think they can. I mean, obviously, you know, a few years ago we talked about their check-in upgrades and what they're doing around that aspect of location and you know, the threat to Foursquare from that perspective. Obviously, they have lots of location development capabilities via the acquisitions of Gowalla and Glancy, and you know, all kinds of other things that they've been buying up over the last little while. So I have no doubt that they can do this, and they can build a decent friend finding application. I challenge. I think it's very difficult for Facebook to make something like this work well because there's so many privacy issues to be considered here, and a lot of people, you know, who you're friends with on Facebook, for those who use Facebook, you know, a lot, aren't necessarily people that you want to know where they are, or they want to know where you are. I would argue. So I think there's some challenges there around the privacy issues. I think if they're doing this, they're going to have to put a lot of very sort of finite, granular controls, you know, on the system to enable people to basically choose when, who, you know, frequency, all that kind of stuff. Because sort of like it, you know, what Glimpse did way back when, you know, 2 years ago or 3 years ago now. You know, that's one of the things that I really liked about Glimpse at the time was that finite, granular control. You know, that you control day and limit to small groups, you know, sort of a la Google Circle kind of model, things like that. So I think they can do it. I think there's a lot of challenges with the privacy issues.
And you know what? I think that they could get away with it simply by the fact that we've all agreed to what they're about to do. According to Bloomberg, what they're talking about here is that they said that it's. They have actually, we have their data use policy tells us that basically we've already agreed to this, is that to tell you and this is direct quote, they may use information on location to tell you and your friends about people or events nearby or offer deals to you that you might be interested in. The company said it also may put together data to serve you ads that might be more relevant. So they're already taking your GPS location based every time you take a photo, you check in, or every time you actually put a post up there. By default, they're taking your location. So this is just another piece to it. They're just broadcasting that,
and it makes sense. Yeah. You know, the part that I like about this from a business perspective, or the marketer, the advertiser, the retailer, the whoever. You know, one of the big gaps that for me that I always see with Facebook and Twitter, but especially Facebook, is, you know, brands spend a lot of money on building a fan page on Facebook for, you know, let's say you're a retailer like Sears. So you spent, you know, a bunch of money. You've got, you know, this fan base on Facebook. You've got, you know, 200,000 people who say they like you. You know, when I sit down with a brand like that, I say, great, you know, that's great that you've got this following now and you can engage with people on Facebook. But, you know, the question is how do you monetize that 200,000, you know, followers that you have? And one way to think about that is, where's the connectivity between, you know, the people who like you in social media and physical bricks and mortar location, and your ability to drive them into those locations. So if I have 200,000 people who like me on Facebook, do I know where those 200,000 people are right now who've already identified that they're a fan, so that I can actually drive them into the closest store to actually engage with the brand? So it's that connection between social and location that I think, like.
Yeah, we lost you there for a second, but I mean, I absolutely agree 100%, is that this is there's always a disconnect. Just like we saw in the Super Bowl, they said, you know, over 50% of the ads mentioned a hashtag or Twitter. You know, and I just keep thinking, Twitter didn't pay anybody any money for that, yet they benefited. They were the common denominator across all ads. And I don't understand why any business would focus on driving people to Facebook first or to Twitter first and not their own website. It confuses the brand. I don't get that, but maybe this is the way that they bridge that, because maybe there is all these reports about Facebook fatigue setting in across the interwebs these days. But yeah, this from a business standpoint, I mean, when you have 1.1 billion people using your service and you're only driving $4 or $5 billion in revenue, there's a significant problem with your revenue generation. These guys have to do this, customized ads like this. But so they're adding location-based friend finding. We'll see if that comes true. It just makes sense. It'll be like, remember we talked about Moves a couple of weeks ago, where it's always on, right?
Yes.
So it'll track your whereabouts, it'll track your friends' whereabouts, it'll ping you.
And this just runs in the background,
Yep.
by the way. Like it's kind of like how Banjo knows your location in the background. Same kind of thing.
Well, they have the talent. They definitely have the talent in there to do this. Good. I mean, we'll see what happens with Facebook. Yeah, they need to do these things. All right, our third story. This pretty unique. I didn't even know this service existed, man. Where was this when I was learning how to play the guitar? I could go and grab it if you want me to play a couple of tunes for you while you talk. You talk about this company called Take Lessons. I'll go grab my guitar. You talk about Take Lessons.
All right. Yeah. So Take Lessons, new company out of San Diego area. It's an online marketplace. It's not a mobile app. But basically, it's hyper local. It's all about finding teachers for music and singing lessons in your area, and they raised $4 million as well, a Series A, coming from Triangle Peak Partners and Cymer Ventures, Crosslink Capital, and Softtech VC. And it makes a lot of sense. I mean, a focused marketplace purely on music and singing lessons. We're finding people around you, and they've got tons and tons of cities on this. It's across the U.S. So there's fairly good coverage across all the major cities, from what I can tell, in the U.S. So if you're looking, to take a music lesson, check out Take Lessons.
I don't know. I mean, I got my own lessons. Well, if I could play Springsteen, I would, but I wouldn't tarnish his name, not in front of public.
All right.
So that's great. I mean, if you're interested in that, it's takelessons.com. I think I will jump right on that. This will be my weekend. Takelessons.com. I like that.
Cool.
You know what? I love this. I'm part of this service called Live Ninja right now, which is kind of I don't even know. It's for coaching clients, right? So if you have a question, a burning question, go to liveninja.com/Rob Woodbridge, and you can reach out to me. We'll spend 30 minutes and we'll figure out the answer to your question, or we'll go a little bit deeper than that. And I love these things. They do lessons. They have you can get guitar lessons or piano lessons from people. Yoga lessons is what they're doing. But I love this kind of this thing that is happening. But what's really cool about takelessons.com is the marketplace. I record a How to Play Stairway to Heaven on my guitar, and I throw it up to take lessons, and if you want it, you can buy it. And that's the coolest thing ever. I mean, I love the democratization of entrepreneurship that's happening as a result of these technologies. And
it's like the Khan Academy.
Yeah, exactly. It is. You have a lot to do with that, Steve? Yeah. Khan Academy? Did you get a portion of that?
Yeah, no. Unfortunately not.
No. All right. All right, so we're going to take a break here and jump right into our guest. We're still trying to figure out how to morph this show, but this is Dave Lieb, remarkable guy, smart guy. Sat down with him a couple of years ago, just around the time where Bump was taking off, and now I sat down with him a couple of weeks ago, and he's talking about, it's kind of looking back at Bump and what they did. They went from version 1, which was a simple app, to version 2, which was a very complex app, and back to version 3, which is a very simple app again. And they kind of expanded and contracted around the functionality. And then even now that they've learned from that experience, they went out and built another application called Flock, and that's what he's going to talk about. Flock is pretty cool. I'll let him explain what it does. It's a photo-based app, but photo-based app with a location tinge. And Dave Lieb is by far, he's the thinking man mobile guy. And I loved sitting down with him. The interview will be up in a couple of weeks, so you're getting another sneak peek. But here, and I know you like Dave, and Bump is a very cool tool. And I think we've all used it at least once. And if you haven't taken a look at it lately, go and take a look at it, because they got some very cool new features that they've added to this, simple features. But here is Dave Lieb from Bump talking about Flock. Okay, so now you've learned these lessons, right? Which is, you've gone through this in 3 iterations of Bump. Established an app, built it up, contracted it down to its core value, and then focused on the finesse, on making sure that whatever it is that it did exceptionally well, right? That was the goal. Then you have all of these excess parts that you've extracted from Bump, and you start thinking, well, there's got to be opportunities for those, right? We thought they were good ideas back then. Is that the genesis? Is that the genesis of Flock, or what was the reason behind it?
I wouldn't say it was an attempt to kind of recapture some of the things that we cut. That was not it at all. It was more an idea of, we talked to these users and we heard we inferred that the biggest problem we had with Bump was that people sometimes forgot to use it when they really wanted to use it. Their goal was to do something and it slipped their mind. They were busy. The phone rang when they were about to use it, and we lost them. And so that was the real genesis of it. It was that got us thinking, and it started this thread that we've been pulling for a while now, which is to move from what I call the age of intent, which is where we've been with computing for the last 50 years, where if I want the computer to do something, I give it a command, and it does what I want, right? And moving from that world to this world that I see coming really quickly, which is what I call the age of inference, where the thing flipped and the computing system figures out my intent before I have to think about it. And that's really what Flock came out of. We were talking to users, and we heard this over and over again, saying, I wish I had used Bump to share the photos because I love it, but I forgot. Whoops, sorry. And we kind of jokingly said to each other in this small conference room, after talking to some users on the phone, we joked and said, boy, it'd be great if we could build an app that worked for you even if you didn't think about using it and you totally forgot about it. And we thought it was a joke, but it turns out the technologies are there and develop some stuff so that you can actually build something like that. So the way that Flock works is you install it and then you forget about it. You never have to intentionally go and take action inside of Flock. Instead, Flock figures out what your intent might be and then pings you with simple responses. So it would say, hey, Rob, looks like you took 4 photos with your friend. Do you want to share those photos with him? And instead of you having to be the seed of the action, the app is, and you just have to respond. And what we're finding with Flock is that if you make those notifications or those alerts really contextual and really relevant, the response rate is super high. And we've moved from this world where push notifications bug you to a world where push notifications are awesome and you love them and you want to do them because you know they're very valuable. So that's kind of the trend. And it's interesting. We have Bump and we have Flock. And Flock's still much more than Bump, obviously. But we have the two sides of this coin. Bump is a very intent-based, very explicit. The cognitive hurdle is extremely low, and it has massive usage because of that. And on the other side of the coin, we have Flock, where we're trying to think through what might be better in the future. Where are we going? Where is it headed? And we think that this idea of inference and contextual apps that figure out your intent are certainly going to be very popular in the years to come. So we want to invest there as well.
So, I mean, I don't know if you can answer this question, but is it, first of all, are you dedicating the equal amount of time between these two apps right now?
It depends what we want to get done on each of them. So at the moment, we're doing a little more work on Bump than we are on Flock. I think that will ebb and flow as we have different opportunities ahead of us. And part of it is, Flock is still an infant product, right? It's very new. We're not actively trying to distribute it. We're really looking at the product usage right now and seeing, wow, the engagement's really good. How do we make it better? How do we, fix these user experience issues? But in the future, we'll see where we spend most of our time. I think both have really, really interesting value to users.
Yeah, that's the reason that I ask is that, it just seems like it's constant refinement, right? Like my next question, I think you just answered it, was around marketing for Flock. Is that is this going to be a product that you actually have to go out and market, or is it going to be one where you're going to build it the way that you did Bump, which was make it so that it's word of mouth, make it so that it flies by itself, and see if you can recreate what you did with Bump.
Yeah. We certainly want to make the product so good that people want to tell their friends about it. That's always our goal, and hopefully we'll get there with Flock. One of the other things to think about, though, is they are very different products. Flock is an app that runs in the background. You don't really think about it as much as you might think or show off or demo Bump. So they are very different products from that standpoint. So they may require different ways to get awareness. And we have yet to really do a lot, but we certainly have a big audience with Bump that a lot of those people probably would love Flock, and going forward, we may try to figure out ways that we can alert people about Flock without compromising their experience with Bump.
And that is Dave Lieb of Bump and his brand new app, Flock. Now, he talked a little bit about it, but just go and take a look at this. What I love about this is the kind of the ambient apps that reside in the background that basically they know. So when a bunch of you are connected and you take a bunch of photos in one location and you leave, it says, hey, listen, you left here, you were all together, do you want to share these photos together? And I think that this is an example, a blueprint of the services that are coming down the road, and I think that this is pretty cool. So if you're interested in this, go to theflockapp.com and or just find it on well, it's actually for Android and iPhone now, so go and download it for their respective stores. And we really appreciate Dave coming on and sharing this with us. Keep a lookout for the interview on Untether.tv in a couple of weeks. Dave Lieb, God, I love what they're doing. I love what they're doing. Cool. They've had 160 million downloads of the Bump app.
I know, it's like one of the all-time leading apps, right? It's kind of right up there with Shazam.
One of the coolest things that of the new features of Bump is that when you actually launch Bump and you want to share something, like you want to send a photo to your computer, you know how hard it is with one of these devices? All you have to do is launch the Bump app and tap your space bar, basically bump your space bar with your phone, and it'll transfer. You have to go to bumpbu.mp, that's the URL, but it'll transfer the photo to your computer. It's just, I love this kind of technology. It's fascinating. Anyways,
amazing.
So that's Dave Lieb of Bump.
All right.
Somebody got an email. Boom.
That was me.
All right.
Sorry.
So 3 more stories and a resource. Let's jump back into this. Asif, what is this? I have not had the pleasure of going to a White Castle. But
oh, come on! But you saw the movie, right? Of course,
yeah. Kumar and what? Yeah. But now they're getting into text messaging and location-based text messaging for deals and coupons to drive more business to a White Castle. I think this makes sense. I mean, it's logical. Maybe it doesn't make sense. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I think it's super simple, right? And I think every fast food, quick serve restaurant chain should be doing some sort of deal thing if they haven't already. The reason I like this one is the SMS angle to this. It's not an app. It's not a pushed into some other app. It's SMS, so it works on all devices. It's geofencing on that basis. This was a big topic of conversation on our panel at Apps World. Obviously, we had AT&T with their alerts program, powered by Placecast on the back end. The simplicity of that, the fact that it works on all the devices, and if you're a White Castle fan, obviously, you're going to do this. So in some respects, it's kind of like, the conversation we just had about Facebook. So, if I'm, on the White Castle Facebook page and identified as a fan there, it's that missing connection to the location piece. How do I drive them into the store? How do I get them in that restaurant? And, having that location element, in this case, manifested through SMS, driving people in, makes sense. So I like it.
Yeah, and this is powered apparently by Placecast as well. And I think that the broad approach, I don't like how they characterize this, and maybe the article that we wrote in Mobile Commerce Daily, which was, that it skews to a demographic that doesn't have a lot of money, so smartphones are out of reach. And I think that that's a misnomer, because smartphones are becoming as affordable as just typical feature phones. But I like the ubiquitous nature of SMS. I think that the challenge I have with all of these things is that it's a little bit random to me. Location-based text messaging, when it comes to what I'm going to eat, it seems a little random. So I think that I'm still waiting, and maybe you can clarify this, but I'm still waiting for that service that is going to be like getting me off my ass and into the restaurant, right? Not while I'm walking past the restaurant, right? So I think that they're targeting it around dinner time, and you're walking around, and if there's a White Castle nearby, it's like no. I want somebody who's going to create something that brings new dollars in, that is driven. Like I'm going, my destination is White Castle. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Because I have a challenge with a lot of these things that are just so random, and you expect some great results and a good return on investment from something so random as a whim. And I think that that's sometimes what these SMS, location-based SMS opportunities are. Did I just destroy the entire reason that we do this podcast?
I don't know about that, but I mean, I think there's a lot more to be built around this in terms of functionality and feature set, but the simplicity works too.
Simplicity is exactly what it is, and I like it. So, and at least they're trying, and I agree. There's no reason why every fast food restaurant should be doing this. If you got fans, if you got people who love your product, you should get them somehow. Email address, SMS, just get them on that list. Don't hesitate to do that. They like you. All right, our fifth story. Okay, so Asif, picture me working out at the gym, and I don't know, running and then trying to bottle that smell. Is that what we're talking about here with this unique sense?
This is not the normal stuff we talk about on the show, but I really like it.
I love this idea.
Yeah, a little bit, I guess. I'm not sure about the gym, but anyhow, a scientist at Goldsmith University, Olivia Clements, who works on olfactory, all things olfactory and smell, has been working specifically on trying to bottle the smell of specific cities or locations within cities, trying to capture the essence of that city, literally from a smell. And she's based in the UK. So she's been doing, she's done South Bank Centre, Birmingham's National Exhibition Centre. This is a really interesting thing, and the data is huge. I mean, apparently, according to the thing I read on this, we breathe 24,000 times a day, resulting in each one of us moving 12.7 cubic meters of air per day per person. Amazing. I mean, it's amazing when you think about that. And all those, we're inhaling smell molecules, which is how we gain knowledge, apparently, of the things, the places around us, the locations. So, while this has nothing to do with mobile or check-ins or SMS or anything, it's very much location-based. And I think, the data that she's collecting and the approach that she's taking here is really interesting if you start to think about how you can apply this concept and layer it into other things. So, for example, I could envision that, you're watching a movie in a theater and all of a sudden you're actually getting the smells associated with, what you're seeing on the screen. I can envision a day where, you're wearing Google goggles type of glasses and things, and, smell data and things are being transmitted into the experience that you're having as well. So I think this is really early stuff, but really interesting as it applies to mobile and location.
Yeah, we've all had those days where you walk outside and the first scent of spring or whatever it is, or there's an earthy smell that brings you back to someplace. It always happened to me when I, there was a brisk morning. And there was a kind of a decay smell in the spring. It always reminds me of India or Pakistan or some places that I've traveled, and I love that, and it takes you back. And I think that scent, like something like this, can create habits. And that's why I brought up the gym, is that, there is a certain scent at the gym. Sometimes it's pleasant, sometimes it's not so pleasant. You get stuck behind the meathead that farts all the time. It's not pleasant at all, right? But there is a scent that identifies that you're there. And I think that if you once in a while somebody somehow it was projected that scent into your house, and it was like, oh yeah, it reminds me of the gym. I got to go to the gym. Something like that, right? That scent is so powerful when it comes to habit change and habit form, and that's why Cinnabon pushes that smell right out the door, because they know that they're going to attract you. And Tim Hortons does the same thing, right?
Got it.
And so this is a very powerful thing, and I think that there was, during the web days, they talked about being able to, there was a little device that you could plug in through a USB through your USB into your computer, and it would send out an aroma based on what website you're on. So if you went to a cooking website, it would try to emulate that aroma. And I think that this is very cool, and I do believe that this has everything to do with location.
Yeah, and especially when you think about like physical locations and the scent of those locations. That, like, to me, that's mind-boggling. So I applaud this work, and I actually, I want to reach out and kind of learn more about it.
I think it's fascinating. So we'll include a link onto the on the website, wherever you found this website. Look at the show notes, and there is or wherever you found this podcast, there's a show notes, and you can go and take a look at it. But if you could just do a search for bottling unique scents of places, you will find a little bit more information. I love it. And this picture that I'm going to pull up right now, which is crazy, is I think she bottled the scent of apparently Ed, Hannah, Alana, and Annie. So I don't know what that means, but I'm so intrigued by this. I gotta figure this out. I love it.
Well, like, Rob, okay, picture now if she could bottle the scent at a Springsteen concert and just store that for you. And you could, like, wake up to that every morning.
It would be like a whole bunch of smelly middle-aged men. I don't know if that's a good idea. I don't know if that's a good idea at all. All right. Moving on. All right. So our last story, this is an interesting one because of the severity, the speed with which this happened. We're talking about NBC shutting down every block, and the challenges that this kind of I don't know if this enlightens us to any of the challenges that hyperlocal news has, but NBC basically brute force shut this down, no warning, no nothing, kind of left everybody stunned. And I mean, you were at the Street Fight Summit in January with these guys, and there was no indication. They just launched their advertising platform. What the what?
Yeah, I'm a bit taken aback by this story myself. It's, they acquired the company, then it went MSNBC, and then obviously NBC took full control of that, and EveryBlock became part of that, that organization. And every indication was, positive. They're rolling this thing forward, as little as a couple months ago, when I last interacted with these guys face to face. So it's mind-boggling. Something's going on internally there that it didn't make sense anymore to continue with this. And the big article comes out, around this with all the interviews and the quotes and everybody talking about challenges and so on. And we've talked about AOL and their patch experiments as well. And as I told you after coming back from Street Fight, I was not the biggest fan of that. I thought it was a very difficult model, and but I think it's on the right path now. I think that they're starting to make money. It's starting to make sense.
But
so I'm surprised by this. I'm really surprised by this, and we're talking about local neighborhood data. If you're not familiar with EveryBlock, there was a big move with the EveryBlock piece to go, open source a lot of this data, which for me was great and huge for the community. So. Yeah, I'm a little disappointed. Maybe that's the one-word description for me on this. Disappointed.
Yeah, there's a thriving community here because they shut it down on Thursday, and it was just kind of abrupt, right? One day it was there, the next day it was gone, and there are already over almost 1,100 comments on this the very last blog post that says "Farewell Neighbors." I think that's why it's just so shocking that it was done so quickly. But there's speculation everywhere around why this doesn't work. There's multiple sides to this. But the one thing that keeps coming up, the theme that keeps coming up, is that a national approach to local can't work. Like a cookie cutter template from a national organization like NBC. Now, there's two sides to this, right? So there's that a cookie cutter approach across multiple communities and just trying to apply the same look and feel and the same services to each community is not going to work because each community is different. And then there's also this undercurrent, which is talking about NBC as a news organization, that there was sometimes too much truth to the local news for NBC to be able to actually push out there because of sponsors and advertisers, and sometimes the news is not good for those sponsors or advertisers, and they can't control it as well. So there's these two sides to it, which is all all emanating from a national approach to local news. And can this work? Like, well, I look at a company like Postmedia in Canada trying to do the exact same thing, nationalize hyper local news, and it hasn't been very successful for them. It hasn't been very successful for anybody at this point, except for, like, you know, your local neighborhood newspaper, that they kind of get it. So what is this? Is this?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's a difficult thing to try and do something, you know, on a national basis that really has to be, you know, super hyper local to a community. You know, and the same to some extent. You know, we've seen similar things happen with, you know, some of the daily deal sites and some of the, you know, things like that. We've seen really good success on deal platforms that are focused purely on, you know, a local market, or just, you know, New York, or just, you know, San Diego, or places like that. Ultimately, they get acquired by Groupon, and they try to go, you know, like this. You know, but when they're most successful is when they're purely at that community level. You know, and it harkens back to, you know, sort of a time when, you know, you would show up at the local grocery store or the local coffee shop, and you'd have that bulletin board on the wall with all the local postings of, you know, babysitters and guide to cut your lawn and, you know, whatever, and local news, or you'd meet there, you know, as a community, and that's where you would share the news, right? That is very difficult to capture, you know, online, number one, and even more difficult to capture, you know, when you're trying to do that on a national scale. And I think, and that's the problem, you know, with this kind of stuff. You have to have true local knowledge and expertise on the ground in every single locale that is managing, you know, and creating that information and engaging with people. You have to be in the community. It can't just be an online thing. You have to be doing, you know, sponsoring the community picnic and the, you know, the barbecues and the you know, the garage sales and all that kind of stuff. That's what community news is. And I think that's the problem here with a lot of these things is, you know, we can aggregate content, fine, but you're not really connected to the community.
And you know, the only unique content from news is hyperlocal news, right? Everything else is a commodity. National news is a commodity, and you can find it anywhere. And why would you want to compete on that? And I think the other challenge is obviously a revenue source. You know, these guys have to be sustainable. But it's so funny that people always put it in perspective of, you got to be sustainable within the context to how your business is run today. But this is a fundamental shift, is that your business can't run, like media businesses can't run the way they're being run today and go hyper local. They can't just, they have to change the way that they do business.
It can't be top down, right? It has to come from the ground level in the community. And so that's why I think, you know, if you look at CNN, you know, with the Zeit acquisition a while ago and things like that, or you look at how Twitter, you know, does its location tracking. For me, you know, if this kind of stuff is going to work in the future, it has to be by empowering, you know, just everybody, you know, every citizen out there in their local community to start feeding information and content and what they care about locally into the system. It could be national, but it has to be, you know, generated by them, not some people sitting in an office somewhere that are responsible for, you know, Indianapolis, and, you know, trying to, you know, gather and push content out and publish it. You know, it's got to be people in Indianapolis, you know, on the ground, you know, the everyday mom and dad and kid and teenager and high school teacher and, you know, firefighter, pushing this stuff into the system.
Yeah, and it also comes down to a niche, right? This is a small niche, but there's a whole bunch. There's a group of Ottawa Valley moms that have got together to create OttawaValleyMoms.com, right? And it's a very specific niche, and it's a brand that they can actually replicate, or you know, across multiple locations. But they're very tailored and very unique to this. And I think that, you know, hyperlocal news, I don't know if there's any money in it. Like I just don't know at this point. But there has to be. And I just, you know, when you start to look at it from a national scale, I don't think that these guys get it. I don't think big publishers get it. And I think there's too much of a risk. They see it too risky because sometimes it gets dirty at the local level, and they can't control the news at that level. So this is a big deal, and this is going to be an ongoing battle. And you know, it just happens so abruptly for every block, and who knows what's going to happen with any of the other organizations, but this is definitely a fundamental shift in the way that news is consumed. And I wonder if Ev Williams and his Medium project will kind of eventually fill this hole at the hyper local level. We'll see. So, I mean, I don't know what to say. If you want to go and read some of the comments, you just go to everyblock.com. There's a link off to the blog comments, but there's almost 1,100 comments about this, and obviously it was a shock to a lot of people. So, and I'd be interested if you've used Everyblock, or if this is something that you have an expertise in. Weigh in with your 2 cents. Just go to untether.tv/talk and leave us a voicemail, and we'll play it at the end of next show. That's the best way to do it. Voice your opinion. If we're way off, this is how you do it. You can tell us we're crazy right in the phone. So that's it. Those are our 6 stories. Great interview with Dave Lieb. Our kind of my fascination this week, which is timber. A little bit of a review, and we're going to finish it off with something that you, Asif, the LBMA, had a firsthand involvement in putting this together, which is basically this is a massive study that says 14.7 million people engaged locally with retail brands in the last quarter, Q4. What is this? This is a staggering number. Talk about through the methodology, and let's finish off with this great resource.
Yes. So basically, we worked with one of our member companies, Venue Labs, which is a fantastic sort of location-based monitoring analytics technology company based in Seattle. And big thing for us this year at the LBMA is to get more data out there, get more research out there, just power people with information. And so what we decided to do is to work with the Venue Labs data. They're tracking 300,000 merchant locations currently across primarily the U.S. and Canada. And what we're doing is we're looking at it's one thing for a brand like a McDonald's or a Subway or a Macy's or somebody like that to say here's what's going on as far as the social conversation about our brand, maybe tied to, some locations and things like that. But, being able to marry up sort of the brand conversation with the super local, like individual storefront conversation. So combining location data in terms of check-ins and sentiment data, at a individual location context, and marrying that up with the overall brand environment, creates this this benchmark that we decided to put out there that says, how many people are missing conversations or missing opportunities to engage with customers, and are not understanding the customer satisfaction issues and the sentiment at a very local level. It's one thing to say, across McDonald's, all their locations in the U.S., 23% of people, had a positive experience, in there last year. Okay, but when you start to dig that down to individual restaurant locations, and you look at it and go, well, actually, this particular restaurant in Cincinnati, Ohio, has 86%, approval or positive feedback, relationship between people who are actually going and the people, that work there and manage that location, compared to other ones. So it's one thing to look at an average versus, individual location. That's what we're trying to do is to draw attention to the opportunity to understand the individual location information. So we did this four benchmarks, retail, hospitality, quick serve restaurant chains, and fast casual brands. So there's 4 infographics there and a bunch of data on it. And just some phenomenal information. So you can either go to streetfightmag.com and find the article there with it, or you can link to it directly from the research section on the LBMA site as well.
Yeah, such deep research, and I loved it. And the angle with which you guys are taking this is great because, the fascinating thing about this whole social, local, mobile world, this solo-mo world, if you will, is that we are using non-verbal cues to determine whether or not we like or how we have a sentiment towards a brand, as you said. So the great example is, I take a picture of my food as opposed and comment on that as opposed to speaking specifically about a restaurant, right? I just take a photo and I tag it as a location, and that is a brand interaction that may be missed. And I think that these, if you don't get that, and that staggering statistic that I just pulled up there, which was 85%, was it 85%? The sentiment of brands are missing, and I think that this is an epidemic. It's like that, they talked about this, the black or the white noise, or the black internet, which is basically email, sharing things by email. This is the same kind of thing. Is that you got to understand that brand sentiment extends beyond words. Boy, does it ever. So yeah, fascinating.
Yeah, for sure. So just some great data there, and it's a quarterly thing. So we're going to continue to update these 4 benchmarks every quarter. We're going to put it out with new data. It'll be interesting to see how it tracks.
Very cool.
Quarter to quarter. So anyways, take a look.
And then you hope to kind of influence these brands, these hospitality, like the restaurants, the fast food restaurants, and the hotels to kind of think about how expanding their view of how, I don't know, how customers classify them and how they interact with the customers interact with their brands. Like, what do you hope to come from this?
Yeah, I think we want to just draw attention to, they're missing a lot of the conversation. They're missing a lot of the information that is available out there. And it could certainly help them, change, the way they, do customer service. It can help them, change their store location, planning, real estate acquisition models. I mean, there's a lot of things that this could potentially affect. And this is for, really any business, any brand that has multiple storefronts. I think this makes sense.
Very cool. All right, so check it out. You can either go to streetfightmag.com and do a search, or you could just hit the lbma.com/research, and it will be there as well. And these are some great infographics, man. Great job on that, Asif. Awesome. All right, that concludes it. We're done. Episode 116. Now, provided that Asif makes it back to Toronto in time for next week, I think we'll be able to get back to our regular scheduled time. We record these on Friday afternoon, certainly recapping the best news of the week in the location-based marketing industry. If you would like to participate, head over to untether.tv/talk, leave a voicemail, leave a comment. Let us know how we're doing. We'd really appreciate that. Of course, you could do the old traditional route as well, which is email. You can reach me at rob@untether.tv or asif@thelbma.com, or through Twitter, of course, at Rob Woodbridge or at Asif R. Khan. I think that's probably enough ways to reach out to us, right?
Yeah.
Thank you for listening, watching, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. We really appreciate it. We can't thank you enough. You can thank us by just giving us a good review at the iTunes store. We'd really appreciate that. We'll be back next week for episode number 117. Everybody enjoy your week. Be safe. See you next week, Asif.